Hello. So we decided to do our presentation on alcoholism amongst Native Americans. One of the main reasons that we decided to do this topic was from reading the novel There by Tommy Orange, as well as the fact that alcoholism is such a major issue for people in the United States. So one of the characters in Tommy Orange's novel There was Tony Loneman. What ended up happening to him was the fact that his mother drank too much while she was pregnant with him, and he developed fetal alcohol syndrome. At the age of 6, Tony no longer viewed himself as a regular human child because of the syndrome, simply because people stared at him and thought of him only as having this disease, and stopped seeing him as another human being. Another character was Thomas Frank, who had an alcohol problem. He wound up getting fired from his job because he drank too much alcohol the day before, and he wound up still smelling like alcohol and wound up losing his job. The final character was Lucas, Dean's uncle, which was the main character. Lucas was more of a one-off side character. He died of alcohol poisoning when Dean was 13, but before he died, he passed on a movie project representing the Native American heritage. His story really tells us about how alcohol can control your life even after you acknowledge there's a problem with it. Seeing the quote, "I don't keep track of what sets I'm on when I'm working. I don't remember a lot. I drink too much. Did your mom tell you that?" So even after he acknowledges specifically that he drinks too much and has a problem, that he continues drinking, which is truly unfortunate. So what is an alcoholic? I think it's good to define the term, especially after seeing all those examples. An alcoholic is someone who suffers from drinking too much alcohol, and alcoholics have strong urges to drink or use alcohol, sometimes, most of the time against their will. Alcoholics are also unable to control how much alcohol they drink. While 14.5 million Americans had an alcohol use disorder in 2019, which is a massive decline from 2002, where it was 4 million people more. So just some base statistics on alcohol issues amongst Americans. 50.8% of Americans over the age of 12 drank alcohol within months of 2019, which is around 139, 140 million people. According to 2019, a national survey on the drug use and health, 25.8% of people over the age of 18 recorded they had binge drank, meaning I think it's 4 or 5 glasses of an alcoholic beverage within an hour. 16 million people, or 5.8% of the population, are heavy alcohol users from a study done in 2019, while 18.5% of users between the age of 12 and 20 recorded being alcohol users. This is just a small graph showing the rate of alcohol use disorder amongst adults age 18 and older, showing an increase in 10 years of about 4 to 5%. I think it's a better representation of the numbers in the previous slide. So how does alcoholism affect Native American families? Native Americans have a higher rate of liver disease, obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. They have higher rates of alcohol abuse amongst their youth. Alcohol was a factor in 69% of Native American suicides. They have a higher rate of birthing someone with fetal alcohol syndrome. And finally, Native Americans are at an increased risk of alcohol abuse compared to other races due to the higher amount of alcoholics within the population. So some statistics of alcoholism amongst Native Americans. There's a behavior risk factor survey from 2011 to 2013 that showed the shared binge drinking rate amongst Europeans and Native Americans was about 17%. Native Americans had the highest rate of heavy drinking, aka 5 or more drinks in one sitting, at 12.1%. In 2006, 16.43% of Native Americans reported the first use of alcohol before the age of 18, or 15, excuse me. Native Americans have one of the highest fetal alcohol syndromes rates, with 1.5 to 2.5 per every 1,000 births, and nearly 25% of Native Americans reported binge drinking in 2015. This is a better representation of, again, some of the previous numbers and how they relate to the rest of the United States. As you can see, in the early months, or the amount of drinks had in the early months is far larger in the small number, while if you compare the whites to Native Americans, the amount of excessive drinking at the extremes is nearly double what it is between Native Americans and whites, showing that Native Americans drink far more in the extremes than white people do. So I think it's important, especially with what Tony Loneman went through, to describe fetal alcohol syndrome. It's a condition in a child that results from being exposed to alcohol during the mother's pregnancy, can cause serious defective problems in children, ranging from brain damage and growth problems that will last a lifetime. Some effects are also mental retardation, malformations of the skeletal system and major organ systems, and inhibited growth. This is a better visual representation of what the character might look like. They have really thin lips, and their eyes tend to be farther apart than a normal child would. There's also alcohol poisoning, which is extremely important for Dean's uncle, since he had passed away due to drinking alcohol. Alcohol poisoning is a disease that occurs from drinking excessive amounts of alcohol in a short period. Alcohol poisoning can lead to a coma or even death, while symptoms can include confusion, vomiting, seizures, low body temperature, unconsciousness, and or slow irregular breathing. Due to the amount that Dean's uncle was drinking due to being an alcoholic, he simply had so much alcohol in his system that he passed away due to it. There's also alcohol intoxication, which occurs as an amount of alcohol in the bloodstream increases. That's how one feels drunk. The more alcohol concentration in a person, the more impaired they become. It can experience mental changes, behavior problems, which happens to a lot of the characters in They're There. I think it happened to every single one of them at some point in their life. They can experience inappropriate behavior, impaired judgment, slurred speech, unstable moods, and this leads to alcohol poisoning if too much is drunk at one time. A lot of people around the world die from alcohol-related deaths. 5.3% of all global deaths are from alcohol-related consumptions, while 7.7% of all global deaths were from men drinking, while 2.6% were from women drinking. Stereotypes: Native Americans binge and heavy drink more than any other group of Americans, and Native Americans started to drink alcohol due to European colonization are complete stereotypes. And the treatment methods that the Native Americans tend to use aren't that different from normal treatment methods. They still go to detox centers, inpatient rehabilitation, outpatient recovery, but they also focus more on the community through talking circles, sweat lodges, and recovery programs that include music, food, craft, and beadwork to really keep the person coming back and grounded and continuing their rehabilitation. In conclusion, we found that alcoholism is a major issue in America. It also disproportionately affects Native Americans. And while Native Americans don't have very many different treatment methods compared to normal treatments, they focus more on the community over the individual. We have 3 works cited pages here with all of our sources. Thank you.